The small town of Pine Grove was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. Tucked between rolling hills and dense forests, it was picture-perfect in every way, at least on the surface. The old Victorian house at the end of Maple Street had stood empty for nearly a year after Linda Thompson passed away, leaving behind her husband Tom and their 8-year-old daughter Lily. The whole town had mourned Linda, bringing casseroles and offering help with little Lily, who had become unusually quiet after losing her mother. Tom threw himself into his work as a traveling consultant, often leaving Lily with her grandmother or neighbors while he took on projects that kept him away for days, or sometimes weeks. It wasn't ideal, but they were managing, until he met Vanessa at a conference in Chicago. Their romance had been swift, surprising everyone in Pine Grove when Tom returned from a 2-week business trip with a new wife. Vanessa was beautiful, with a charming smile and impeccable style that seemed out of place in their small town. She always wore high heels even to the local grocery store, and spoke with a slight accent that nobody could quite place but everyone found exotic. "She seems nice," the neighbors would say to each other, watching as Vanessa planted new flowers in the garden or repainted the porch furniture. Tom deserves some happiness after everything he's been through. But 8-year-old Lily wasn't convinced. She watched from her bedroom window as her father carried Vanessa's many suitcases into the house that first day, clutching her stuffed rabbit tightly against her chest. "This is Vanessa," Tom had said, his hand on his new wife's back. "She's going to be living with us now. Isn't that wonderful?" Lily had nodded because that's what was expected, but she didn't speak. She hadn't spoken much since her mother died, using nods and headshakes and pointing to communicate most of her needs. The child psychologist Tom had taken her to said this was normal after such a trauma. Her voice would return when she felt safe again. Vanessa had crouched down that first day, her perfume overpowering as she leaned in close to Lily. "We're going to be such good friends, you and I," she'd said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes, like a real mother and daughter. That night, after Tom had fallen asleep, Lily heard Vanessa in the hallway outside her bedroom door. She'd stood there for nearly 5 minutes without knocking or coming in, just listening. Lily had pulled her blanket over her head and squeezed her eyes shut until the floorboards creaked, signaling Vanessa had finally walked away. The only one who seemed to understand Lily's uneasiness was their dog, Buddy. The big German Shepherd had been Linda's dog originally, and he'd become Lily's constant companion after her mother's death. Buddy slept at the foot of Lily's bed every night and followed her everywhere during the day. From the moment Vanessa arrived, Buddy watched her with suspicious eyes, keeping himself between her and Lily whenever possible. "That dog is too protective," Vanessa told Tom over dinner their second week together. "It's not healthy for Lily to be so attached to an animal. She needs human relationships." Tom had nodded thoughtfully. "Buddy's been a great comfort to her since Linda died. The therapist said having him around has been good for her." Vanessa's smile had tightened. "Of course, dear. I'm just thinking of what's best for Lily." Within a month, Vanessa had redecorated most of the house, replacing Linda's floral curtains with modern blinds and changing the family photos to abstract art. The only room she hadn't touched was Lily's, though she'd suggested several times that perhaps Lily was too old for such childish decorations. Lily overheard Vanessa on the phone one afternoon, speaking in hushed tones in the kitchen. "It's more difficult than I expected," she was saying. "The child hardly speaks and that dog watches me like I'm some kind of criminal. No, he's completely blind when it comes to her. All he sees is that she needs a mother figure. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. The house alone is worth a fortune, not to mention his investments. It just takes time." That evening, Vanessa served Lily's favorite meal, spaghetti with meatballs. She'd been doing that lately, learning all of Lily's preferences and trying to win her over with small gestures. But Lily noticed that Buddy wouldn't eat the food Vanessa put in his bowl anymore. He waited until Tom fed him, or until Lily snuck him bits from her own plate. As summer turned to fall, Tom's business trips became more frequent and longer. "It's just for a little while," he promised Lily, kneeling to hug her before each departure. "Vanessa will take good care of you while I'm gone." But when Tom was away, the house felt different. Vanessa's smile would disappear the moment his car left the driveway. She'd spend hours on the phone or on her computer, barely acknowledging Lily except to remind her to clean up after herself or to keep the noise down. The neighbors noticed nothing amiss. In fact, they were charmed by how Vanessa had taken to small-town life, joining the local garden club and volunteering at community events. Such a devoted stepmother, they'd say, watching her walk Lily to school, perfectly dressed with a matching lunchbox she'd packed herself. What they didn't see were the cold stares when no one was looking, or how she'd grip Lily's hand too tightly if the child didn't smile on command. They didn't hear her late at night, going through Tom's office, opening drawers and taking photos of documents when she thought everyone was asleep. One evening, when Tom was away on a 3-day trip to Boston, Lily came downstairs for a glass of water and found Vanessa studying her mother's will, which Tom kept in his desk. Buddy growled low in his throat, alerting Vanessa to their presence. She startled, quickly folding the paper. "You should be in bed," she said sharply, then caught herself and softened her tone. "Did you have a bad dream, sweetheart?" Lily shook her head, backing toward the stairs with Buddy at her side. "Your father has been very generous to you," Vanessa said, her voice oddly calm. "Did you know that? Everything that was your mother's is now yours. The house, the money, even her jewelry. He's put it all in a trust for you." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You're a very lucky little girl." That night, Lily woke to find Buddy standing at attention by her bedroom door, his hackles raised. She heard Vanessa on the phone again in the hallway. "I can't wait years for this," she was whispering. "The trust is ironclad until she's 18. No, he refuses to change it. Says it was Linda's dying wish. I'm thinking we need another approach." The next morning, Vanessa was all smiles again, making heart-shaped pancakes for breakfast and suggesting they go hiking that weekend. "Just you and me, sweetheart. We'll pack a picnic and explore those woods behind the lake. It'll be our special day together." Lily didn't want to go, but she knew saying no wasn't an option. She nodded, watching as Vanessa checked the weather forecast on her phone. "Perfect," Vanessa murmured, more to herself than to Lily. "Not too many hikers this time of year. We'll have the trails all to ourselves." Later that day, Lily found an old notebook of her mother's and, for the first time since Linda died, she wrote something down. In careful handwriting, she filled a page with her concerns about Vanessa, about the phone calls and the documents and the strange way her stepmother looked at her when Dad wasn't around. She sealed the letter in an envelope and hid it under her mattress, just in case. Then she called Buddy to her side and held him close, drawing comfort from his steady presence. Tomorrow, she decided, she would try to speak again. She would call Mrs. Wilson next door and ask if she could use her phone to talk to Dad, but Vanessa was already making plans of her own. In the kitchen, she packed a small shovel into the bottom of the picnic basket, covering it with a checkered cloth. On top, she arranged sandwiches, cookies, and 2 bottles of water, one regular, one with a crushed sleeping pill mixed in. "It's for the best," she whispered to herself. A tragic accident. The poor child wandered off, got lost in those woods. These things happen. As the sun set over Pine Grove, 2 people under the same roof prepared for the coming day with very different intentions. And between them, sensing the rising tension, a loyal German shepherd kept silent vigil, unwavering in his devotion to the child who needed him now more than ever. Saturday morning arrived with a golden autumn sunshine that made the changing leaves glow like fire against the clear blue sky. It was the kind of perfect fall day that normally would have filled Lily with joy, jumping in leaf piles, collecting acorns, and breathing in the crisp air that smelled of earth and pine. Instead, she sat on the edge of her bed, her small backpack already packed, dreading the special day Vanessa had planned for them. Buddy lay at her feet, his brown eyes never leaving her face. She reached down to scratch behind his ears, finding comfort in his warm fur. "You'll come with us, right, boy?" she whispered. It was the first time she'd spoken aloud in weeks, her voice raspy from disuse. Downstairs, Vanessa was busy in the kitchen, humming as she packed their picnic. She'd called Tom earlier to update him on their plans, painting a picture of happy stepmother-stepdaughter bonding that bore little resemblance to reality. "Oh, we're going to have such fun," she'd said, her voice sugary sweet as Lily listened from the stairway. "Lily's so excited, aren't you, sweetheart?" She gestured for Lily to come closer, covering the phone's microphone. "Say hello to your father," she'd instructed, her eyes warning. Lily had nodded but remained silent, and Vanessa's smile had tightened. "She's still being shy," she told Tom, "but we're making progress. This hike will be good for us. Now, as Lily made her way downstairs with Buddy following protectively behind, Vanessa looked up with that same tight smile. "There you are, sleepyhead. I was beginning to think you'd changed your mind about our adventure." She closed the picnic basket with a decisive snap. "I hope you're not planning to bring that dog along. He'll just get in the way." Lily clutched Buddy's collar, her eyes wide with alarm. "Oh, don't look so worried," Vanessa sighed. "Fine, he can come. But he stays on his leash and you're responsible for him. If he runs off chasing squirrels, we're not spending our day looking for him." Relief washed over Lily's face as she nodded eagerly, grabbing Buddy's leash from the hook by the door before Vanessa could change her mind. The drive to Blackwater Lake took 20 minutes. Winding through country roads where the trees formed a canopy overhead, Lily sat in the back seat with Buddy beside her, watching through the window as familiar landmarks gave way to denser forest. They passed fewer and fewer houses until finally, Vanessa turned onto a dirt road with a small wooden sign. "Blackwater Trail, hikers welcome." The parking area was empty except for one faded pickup truck at the far end. Vanessa parked as far from it as possible, near where the trail disappeared into the woods. "Perfect," she said, surveying the deserted area. "Looks like we'll have plenty of privacy for our special day." She reached into the back seat for the picnic basket, something hard shifting inside it. "Let's go, sweetheart. Adventure awaits." The trail began easily enough, wide and well marked, the ground covered in fallen leaves that crunched pleasantly underfoot. Buddy trotted alongside Lily, occasionally stopping to sniff at interesting scents but never pulling on his leash. Vanessa walked ahead, the picnic basket swinging from her arm, glancing back frequently to make sure they were following. After about half an hour, they reached a fork in the path. The main trail continued straight, marked by blue blazes on the trees, while a narrower path branched off to the right with no markings at all. "This way," Vanessa said, gesturing toward the unmarked path. "I read online about a beautiful hidden meadow this way, much nicer than the crowded viewpoint where all the tourists go." Lily hesitated, looking down the narrow path that seemed to disappear into darker, denser woods. Buddy growled softly, his ears flattening against his head. "Don't tell me you're scared," Vanessa said, her voice taking on that edge it got when she was losing patience. "After all the trouble I went to planning this special day just for you? Your father will be so disappointed to hear you ruined our bonding time." Reluctantly, Lily followed, holding Buddy's leash tightly as they left the main trail behind. The path grew increasingly difficult to follow, with branches scratching at their clothes and roots threatening to trip them. Buddy's growls became more frequent, but Vanessa ignored them, pressing forward with determined steps. After another 15 minutes, the trees suddenly opened up into a small clearing. It wasn't the meadow Vanessa had promised, just a patch of open ground perhaps 30 feet across, surrounded by dense forest on all sides. The ground was soft and dark, covered with years of fallen leaves and pine needles. "Perfect," Vanessa said again, setting down the picnic basket. "Let's take a break here." Lily looked around uncertainly. There was nothing special about this place, no view, no flowers, nothing that would have made it a destination. Just empty, secluded forest far from the main trail, far from anyone who might hear a child's cries for help. "I brought your favorite cookies," Vanessa said, spreading a blanket on the ground, "and juice boxes." "Come sit down," Buddy barked suddenly, a sharp warning sound that made Lily jump. He was staring into the trees behind them, hackles raised. "Probably just a squirrel," Vanessa said dismissively. "Silly dog. Here, Lily, have some water. You must be thirsty after our hike." She held out a water bottle, the one she'd prepared the night before. Lily took it hesitantly but didn't open it, remembering how Buddy had refused food from Vanessa's hand for weeks now. "Drink," Vanessa insisted, her smile fading. "You need to stay hydrated." Before Lily could respond, Buddy lunged toward the picnic basket, barking frantically. In the commotion, the basket tipped over, spilling its contents, including the small shovel Vanessa had hidden beneath the food. There was a moment of complete stillness as Lily stared at the shovel, then at Vanessa, understanding dawning in her eyes. Vanessa's face changed, the pleasant mask dropping away to reveal something cold and calculating beneath. "You've always been a difficult child," she said quietly, reaching for the shovel. "I tried to make this easy for both of us. A little sleeping medicine, a peaceful rest. But now you've made things complicated." Lily backed away, her heart pounding. This was why Vanessa had chosen this isolated spot. This was what those late-night phone calls had been about. The realization sent ice through her veins. Vanessa never intended for her to return from this hike. Your father will be heartbroken, of course, Vanessa continued, advancing slowly. His precious daughter lost in these woods. They might search for days, but these forests are vast. By the time they find you, if they find you, I'll be the grieving stepmother who tried desperately to save you when you wandered off the trail. Lily opened her mouth, trying to find her voice to scream, to call for help, but fear had stolen her words again. She clutched Buddy's leash like a lifeline. Let the dog go, Vanessa ordered. He'll find his way home. Dogs always do. But Lily couldn't release her grip on the leash even as Vanessa lunged forward, grabbing her arm with bruising force. Buddy snarled, teeth bared, but Vanessa had positioned herself so that Lily's body was between them. Stop fighting, Vanessa hissed, dragging Lily toward the center of the clearing. This would have been peaceful if you just drunk the water. With strength born of desperation, Lily twisted free, only to trip over an exposed root and fall hard. The impact knocked the wind from her lungs, leaving her gasping on the ground. In that moment of vulnerability, Vanessa pounced, pinning her down with one knee while she began frantically digging with the shovel. The soil in the clearing was soft and yielding, dark with decay. It took only minutes for Vanessa to create a shallow depression, roughly the size of a child's body. It won't hurt, she said, her voice almost gentle now as she worked. The soil is light. You'll have air for a while. By the time it gets difficult to breathe, you'll be asleep, like being tucked in for a nap. Lily struggled weakly, but Vanessa was stronger, fueled by greed and desperation. Buddy barked and snarled, but his leash had become tangled in the underbrush during the struggle, keeping him just out of reach. With a final grunt of effort, Vanessa shoved Lily into the shallow grave, quickly pushing soil over her small body, leaving only her face exposed. I'll cover your face last, she said, oddly considerate in her cruelty. It's more peaceful that way. Tears streamed down Lily's dirt-smudged cheeks as she looked toward Buddy, still fighting against his tangled leash. Their eyes met in a moment of pure understanding. Stay, Vanessa commanded the dog, sprinkling a handful of soil over Lily's face. Stay with your precious Lily. I'll tell them how you tried to save her, how you wouldn't leave her side. Such a loyal dog. With a final pat to the freshly disturbed earth, Vanessa stood, brushing soil from her designer jeans. She picked up the picnic basket, repacked the shovel, and turned toward the path without a backward glance. Goodbye, Lily, she called over her shoulder. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your father. As Vanessa's footsteps faded into the forest, Lily lay perfectly still, the weight of the soil making it difficult to breathe. She could feel panic rising in her chest, threatening to consume her, and then she heard it, the sound of Buddy's determined efforts to free himself from the tangled leash. In the growing silence of the forest, a race against time had begun. The forest fell silent as Vanessa's footsteps faded away. Only the occasional rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze and Buddy's desperate whines broke the eerie quiet. Beneath the shallow layer of soil, Lily tried to control her breathing. Panic wouldn't help her now. The dirt wasn't packed tightly. Vanessa had been in too much of a hurry for that. But it was heavy enough to keep Lily from moving her arms or legs. She could still breathe, though each inhale brought the musty scent of earth into her nostrils. Tiny roots tickled her cheek, and somewhere near her ear, she felt the squirming movement of a worm. Tears leaked from the corners of her eyes, creating muddy trails down her temples. Buddy, she whispered, finding her voice in this moment of desperate need. Buddy, help me! The German shepherd had been frantically working at his tangled leash, teeth pulling and claws scratching at the nylon cord that had wrapped around a fallen branch. At the sound of Lily's voice, so rarely heard these days, his efforts doubled. With a final powerful tug, the leash snapped and Buddy was free. He bounded to where Lily lay half buried, his nose immediately finding her exposed face. He licked her cheeks, whining with distress at seeing his beloved human in such a state. Good boy, Lily whispered. Good boy. Help me. As if understanding her plea perfectly, Buddy began to dig. His powerful front paws attacked the loose soil around Lily's shoulders first, instinctively working to free her most vital parts. Dirt flew in all directions as he dug with the single-minded determination that only a loyal dog can muster. Minutes passed like hours as Buddy worked. Occasionally he would stop to lick Lily's face as if reassuring her that he hadn't given up. then returned to his digging with renewed vigor. The weight on Lily's chest gradually lessened as more soil was cleared away. "Keep going," she encouraged him, her voice growing a little stronger. "Good boy, buddy." After what seemed like forever, Lily could move her right arm. She wriggled it free of the remaining soil and reached up to touch Buddy's fur, letting him know he was doing exactly what she needed. Then, with her arm free, she began to help, scooping away dirt from around her face and neck. Together, they worked until Lily could sit up. Her clothes were filthy, her hair matted with soil and twigs, but she was alive. She threw her arms around Buddy's neck, burying her face in his fur as silent sobs shook her small body. "Thank you," she whispered over and over. "Thank you," but they weren't safe yet. They were still in the middle of the forest, far from the main trail, and Vanessa would eventually return to the parking lot. What would she do when she realized Lily had escaped? Would she come back to finish what she'd started? Lily struggled to her feet, legs wobbling like a newborn fawn's. Buddy stayed pressed against her side, supporting her with his solid weight. She looked around the clearing, trying to remember which way led back to the main trail. All the paths looked the same, dark, overgrown, and unwelcoming. "We need help," she told Buddy, her throat dry and scratchy. "We need to find people, but which way to go?" If she chose wrong, they might wander deeper into the forest, getting more lost with each step. Vanessa had deliberately led them away from the marked trails, taking turns seemingly at random to ensure they couldn't be easily found. Buddy looked up at her, then toward one of the paths leading out of the clearing. He took a few steps in that direction, then looked back at Lily as if asking her to follow. "You know the way?" she asked, hope flickering in her chest. Buddy barked once, a clear, confident sound that echoed through the trees. He took a few more steps along the path, then waited for Lily to follow. With no better option, Lily placed her trust in Buddy's instincts. Dogs had an amazing sense of direction, everyone knew that. Maybe he could smell the main trail, or perhaps he remembered the way they had come. They set off together, Lily keeping one hand on Buddy's back for both guidance and comfort. The forest seemed different now, more threatening, the shadows deeper, the sounds more ominous. Every snapping twig made her jump, imagining Vanessa lurking behind a tree, waiting to finish what she'd started. After about 10 minutes of walking, Buddy suddenly stopped, his ears perking up. Lily froze beside him, straining to hear what had caught his attention. Then she heard it too, voices, distant but unmistakably human. "Hello?" she called, her voice cracking. "Help, please help us." The voices paused, then a man's voice called back, "Hello? Is someone there? Help!" Lily called again, louder this time. "We're lost. Please help," Buddy barked, adding his voice to hers, the sound carrying much farther through the trees. "Keep calling," the voice responded, closer now. "We're coming toward you." Lily sank to her knees, relief making her legs too weak to stand. Buddy stayed beside her, barking periodically to guide the rescuers to their location. Soon, two figures emerged from between the trees. A middle-aged couple in hiking gear, their faces showing concern that deepened to alarm when they saw the state of the dirt-covered child and the protective dog at her side. "Oh my goodness," the woman said, hurrying forward. "What happened to you, sweetheart?" The kindness in her voice broke something inside Lily. Words that had been trapped for months came pouring out in a rush. "My stepmom, she put me in the ground. Buddy saved me. She wants my dad's money." The couple exchanged a look of horror. The man pulled out a cell phone. "I'm calling 911, he said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Where is your stepmother now?" "She left," Lily said, trembling. "She went back to the car. She thinks I'm still in the ground." The woman knelt beside Lily, carefully not touching her without permission, but offering a water bottle and some tissues from her backpack. "My name is Carol," she said gently. "This is my husband, Dave. We're going to help you, okay? No one is going to hurt you again." Buddy sniffed Carol cautiously, then gave her hand a quick lick, his seal of approval. He remained vigilant, however, occasionally looking back the way they had come, as if expecting Vanessa to appear at any moment. Dave spoke quietly into his phone, explaining the situation as best he could to the 911 operator. Lily could hear snatches of his conversation. "Child in danger. Attempted murder. Needs medical attention. Send police. They want us to take you to the main trail," Dave said after ending the call. "Emergency services will meet us there. Can you walk that far, or would you like me to carry you?" Lily looked at Buddy, who seemed to be assessing Dave with his intelligent eyes. After a moment, the dog relaxed slightly, apparently deciding the man was trustworthy. "I can walk," Lily said, finding strength in the knowledge that help was coming. "Buddy will help me." Carol offered her hand and Lily took it, drawing comfort from the gentle, steady grip. With Buddy on one side and Carol on the other, they began making their way toward the main trail, Dave leading the way and occasionally checking behind them. "You're very brave," Carol told Lily as they walked, "and your dog is amazing. I've never seen anything like it." "He's the best dog in the world," Lily said, the first hint of a smile appearing on her dirt-streaked face. "He knew she was bad from the beginning. He always tried to protect me." "Smart boy," Carol agreed, looking at Buddy with genuine admiration. "He must love you very much." As they emerged onto the main trail, Lily felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. Here the forest didn't seem so threatening. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, creating dappled patterns on the ground. In the distance, she could hear other hikers. Normal weekend sounds that represented safety. They had walked about half a mile along the main trail when they heard the sirens, faint at first, then growing louder as emergency vehicles arrived at the trailhead. Soon they could see flashing lights through the trees. "Almost there," Dave encouraged. "You're doing great, Lily." As they rounded a bend in the trail, Lily saw them. 2 police officers and a paramedic hurrying toward them, equipment in hand. Behind them, park rangers were organizing what looked like a search party, people donning high-visibility vests and checking radios. But what caught Lily's attention was the police car parked at the trailhead, and the figure sitting in the back seat, hands cuffed behind her back, face contorted with rage. Vanessa. Lily stopped dead in her tracks, fear washing over her again. Buddy pressed against her leg, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "It's okay," Carol assured her, understanding immediately. "She can't hurt you anymore. Look, she's already in custody." As they watched, another police officer approached the car, speaking into his radio. He glanced up, saw their group approaching, and his expression changed to one of visible relief. "They found the child," he called back to his colleagues. "She's alive." Those words triggered a flurry of activity. The paramedic jogged forward, medical bag in hand, while one of the officers moved to intercept them. "Lily Thompson?" the officer asked gently, kneeling to her level. "We've been looking for you. Your stepmother told us you wandered off and got lost." His tone made it clear he hadn't believed that story even before finding Lily covered in dirt. "She buried me," Lily said, her voice small but steady. "In the ground. Buddy dug me out." She looked at the German shepherd with pure love in her eyes. "He saved my life." The officer's face darkened with anger, but he kept his voice calm for Lily's sake. "Well, she's not going to hurt you or anyone else again. We've already called your dad. He's flying back right now. Until he gets here, the doctors are going to check you over. Make sure you're okay. And your hero dog can stay with you the whole time." The paramedic approached slowly, smiling reassuringly. "Hi there, Lily. I'm just going to make sure you're not hurt, okay? Can your brave dog friend sit with you while I do that?" Lily nodded, sinking down onto a nearby log. Buddy sat at her feet, eyes still fixed on the police car where Vanessa was detained. He would not relax his guard completely until Lily was truly safe. As the paramedic gently checked her over, Lily could hear the officers talking with Carol and Dave, getting their statements about finding her in the forest. Words like charges, evidence, and witness floated through the air. "Your dad will be here by tonight," the paramedic told her as he wrapped a shock blanket around her shoulders. "The doctors at the hospital will want to keep you overnight for observation, but you're going to be just fine." "You're a very brave girl." Lily shook her head slightly. "Buddy's the brave one," she said, reaching down to stroke his fur. "He knew all along. He tried to warn us." As if understanding her words, Buddy looked up, his brown eyes full of devotion. In that moment, Lily made a silent promise to him. From now on, she would listen when he tried to tell her something. She would find her voice again for both their sakes. The journey out of the forest was the beginning of a different kind of journey, one that would lead to healing, to justice, and to a bond between a girl and her dog that would amaze everyone who heard their story. The ride to Pine Grove Community Hospital was mercifully short. Lily sat in the back of the ambulance with Buddy pressed against her side, his warm presence keeping the worst of the shock at bay. The paramedic, a kind-faced man named Mike, had initially been hesitant about allowing a dog in the ambulance, But one look at how Buddy calmed the traumatized child had changed his mind. Special circumstances, he'd said with a wink, helping Buddy up into the vehicle after Lily. Besides, he's cleaner than some patients I've transported. Now, as they pulled into the hospital's emergency entrance, Mike looked at Lily with gentle eyes. The doctors might not let Buddy into the examination room right away, he warned. Hospital rules. But I promise we'll make sure he's nearby, okay? Lily nodded, her hand tightening in Buddy's fur. She'd spoken more in the past hour than she had in months, but words were still precious, used only when necessary. As predicted, the emergency room staff balked at the sight of the German Shepherd. A nurse with tight gray curls approached, her expression sympathetic but firm. I'm sorry, sweetie, but animals aren't allowed in the treatment areas. It's for everyone's safety. Buddy sensed the tension immediately, planting himself more firmly beside Lily, who began to tremble. Officer Paul Wilson, who had followed the ambulance to the hospital, stepped forward. This dog just saved this child's life, he said quietly. He dug her out after her stepmother buried her alive and left her for dead. I think we can make an exception to the rules today. The nurse's eyes widened, her gaze moving from the officer to the dirt-covered child, to the protective dog. After a moment, she nodded. I'll speak with the doctor. In the meantime, let's get you into a private room away from the waiting area. They were led to a small examination room at the end of the hall. A young doctor arrived minutes later, introduced himself as Dr. Chen, and knelt to Lily's eye level. I hear you've had quite an ordeal, he said, his voice gentle, and this must be the hero I've been hearing about. He extended his hand, palm up, allowing Buddy to sniff him before offering a respectful pat to the dog's head. I need to examine you, Lily, to make sure you're okay. Would it be all right if your brave friend waits just outside the door with Officer Wilson? He'll be able to see you through the window the whole time. Lily looked at Buddy, then at the door with its large glass window, considering. Finally, she gave a small nod. Good girl, Dr. Chen said. This won't take long, I promise. Officer Wilson led Buddy just outside, where the dog immediately sat, eyes fixed on Lily through the window. The examination was thorough but quick. Dr. Chen checking Lily for injuries while a nurse gently cleaned the dirt from her face and hands. You're remarkably unharmed, the doctor told her when he'd finished. Some bruises, minor scratches, and mild dehydration. We'll get you something to drink and a little food. I'd like to keep you overnight for observation, mostly to watch for signs of shock. Is that okay? Lily nodded, eyes never leaving Buddy's watchful form through the window. I understand your father is on his way, Dr. Chen continued. He should be here in a few hours. Until then, Officer Wilson will stay with you and, he smiled, I'm prescribing canine therapy. Your dog can stay, provided he's well behaved. As if understanding the doctor's words, Buddy sat up straighter, his expression almost dignified. He's always good, Lily said softly. He's the best dog in the world. I believe it, Dr. Chen replied. Not every dog would do what he did today. After the doctor left, Buddy was allowed back in, immediately resuming his position at Lily's side. A nurse brought apple juice and a sandwich, which Lily nibbled at while Officer Wilson gently asked her questions about what had happened. I know this is hard, he said, but I need to understand exactly what happened so we can make sure your stepmother is punished properly. Lily took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice growing stronger as she recounted Vanessa's deception, the strange phone calls, the documents she'd been searching through, and finally, the terrifying moments in the forest. Buddy stayed pressed against her throughout, occasionally licking her hand when her voice faltered. You're very brave, Officer Wilson told her when she'd finished. Both of you are. Your statement will help us make sure she goes to prison for a long time. A commotion in the hallway drew their attention. Rapid footsteps approached, and then the door burst open to reveal Tom Thompson, his face pale with shock and fear, his clothes rumpled from rushed travel. Lily, he cried, rushing forward only to stop short at the sight of his daughter's dirt-smudged face and the protective dog at her side. Oh my God, Lily, they told me what happened. What she tried to do, I can't believe. His voice broke, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry. I should have been here. I should have known. For a moment, Lily just stared at her father, emotions warring on her small face. Then Buddy gave a soft whine, nudging her gently, and she slid off the examination table and into her father's waiting arms. Daddy, she whispered, the word muffled against his shirt. Buddy saved me. He knew she was bad all along. Tom looked over his daughter's head at the German shepherd who watched them with intelligent eyes. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you for protecting her when I couldn't. Later that evening, after Lily had been settled into a hospital room for the night, Tom sat beside her bed, holding her hand while she drifted in and out of sleep. Buddy lay curled at the foot of the bed, special permission having been granted by the hospital administrator after hearing the extraordinary circumstances. I've spoken with the police, Tom told her during one of her wakeful periods. They have a strong case against Vanessa. Her phone records, the evidence from the forest, the grave. He swallowed hard. Plus your statement and the testimony from the hikers who found you. She'll never hurt you or anyone else again. She wanted your money, Lily said sleepily. She was mad about Mom's will. Tom's face darkened. I know, the police found documents in her personal email. She'd been planning this for weeks, maybe longer. He squeezed her hand gently. But that's over now. It's just you and me again. And Buddy, of course. At the sound of his name, Buddy lifted his head, ears perked forward attentively. He's never leaving our side again, Tom promised. From now on, we listen to Buddy. He's clearly the smartest one in the family. This earned a small smile from Lily, the first genuine one in longer than Tom could remember. The next morning brought a flurry of visitors. Officer Wilson returned with his partner to take an official statement. The hospital's child psychologist stopped by to check on Lily's emotional state. Carol and Dave, the hiking couple who had found her in the forest, brought a small stuffed dog that looked remarkably like Buddy. We thought you might want this for times when the real Buddy can't be with you, Carol explained, placing the toy in Lily's hands. Though from what we've seen, that won't be often. Indeed, Buddy had barely left Lily's side, accepting brief bathroom breaks only when Tom took him outside, and even then he hurried back as quickly as possible. The hospital staff had begun bringing him water in a bowl, and even snuck in treats when supervisors weren't looking. Word of the heroic dog had spread throughout the hospital, and every shift change brought new staff members finding excuses to peek into Lily's room. By afternoon, Dr. Chen declared Lily physically fit to go home. I'm recommending she see a therapist to help process the trauma, he told Tom quietly. But physically, she's remarkably resilient. We'll both be getting help, Tom promised, looking back at his daughter who was showing Buddy her new stuffed toy. I missed all the warning signs. I won't make that mistake again. As they prepared to leave, a local news reporter appeared at the door, cameraman in tow. Mr. Thompson, I'm Jen Parker from Channel 5 News. We've heard about your daughter's incredible rescue by your family dog. Would you be willing to share your story? People should know about this amazing animal. Tom hesitated, looking to Lily for her reaction. To his surprise, she nodded. People should know how brave Buddy is, she said, her voice still soft but steadier now. He's a hero. The simple interview in the hospital room quickly went viral. By that evening, Buddy's story had spread across social media, touching hearts around the country. People were amazed by the dog's determination, his loyalty, his seemingly impossible understanding of the danger Lily had been in. Offers poured in. Free veterinary care for life. Dog food companies wanting Buddy as their spokesdog. Even a children's book publisher interested in telling his story. Tom politely declined most offers, accepting only those that would directly benefit Buddy or help other children in situations like Lily's. One offer they did accept came from the Pine Grove Police Department. Chief Richards visited their home personally the day after Lily's release from the hospital. We've been considering adding a K-9 unit to the department, he explained, watching Buddy, who lay at Lily's feet as she colored at the kitchen table. After seeing what Buddy did, we're more convinced than ever of the value of working with dogs. Would you consider bringing him to some of our training sessions? Not to train him, he's clearly already exceptional, but to help train our officers on recognizing and working with dogs that show his level of intelligence and intuition. This arrangement proved beneficial for everyone. Buddy seemed to enjoy the visits to the police station, where he was treated like royalty. Lily, who accompanied him with her father, gradually became more comfortable speaking with the officers, sharing the story of her rescue with increasing confidence. And the police department learned valuable lessons about canine behavior that would shape their future K-9 program. As autumn gave way to winter, life in the Thompson household settled into a new normal. Tom worked primarily from home now, taking only occasional day trips that didn't require overnight stays. Lily returned to school where her classmates treated her with a mixture of awe and curiosity. And Buddy, already beloved before his heroic act, became something of a local celebrity. People would stop them on the street asking to pet the famous dog, wanting to hear the story firsthand. Lily gradually became more comfortable telling it, her voice growing stronger with each retelling. The more she spoke about what had happened, the more the experience lost its power to frighten her. And through it all, Buddy remained exactly what he had always been, a loyal, loving companion who asked for nothing more than to be near his family. The only difference now was that when Buddy growled or barked at a stranger, everyone paid very close attention. 6 months had passed since that terrifying day in the forest. Outside the Pine Grove County Courthouse, spring flowers bloomed in carefully tended beds, their bright colors a stark contrast to the solemn proceedings taking place inside. Lily sat on a wooden bench in the hallway, her father's arm around her shoulders and Buddy at her feet. She wore a blue dress that her grandmother had bought specially for this day, her hair neatly braided and tied with matching ribbons. At 10 years old, her birthday had come and gone during the long months of investigation and preliminary hearings. She looked both older and younger than her age. There was a wisdom in her eyes that no child should have to possess. Yet she still clutched a small stuffed dog in her hands, a child seeking comfort in the familiar. "You don't have to do this," Tom reminded her gently. "The prosecutor says they have more than enough evidence without your testimony. Vanessa's phone records, the emails to her accomplice, the physical evidence from the forest, it's all very strong." Lily shook her head. "I want to," she said, her voice quiet but determined. "Dr. Miller says it's important to tell my story, that it helps make it less scary when I say it out loud." She glanced down at Buddy, drawing strength from his steady presence. "Besides, Buddy will be with me." That had been arranged through special permission from the judge, an unprecedented allowance for a service animal that wasn't officially certified. But after hearing about Buddy's heroic rescue and seeing how his presence calmed the key witness in this high-profile case, exceptions had been made. The courtroom doors opened and a court officer appeared. "They're ready for you, Miss Thompson," he said kindly. Lily stood, smoothing her dress with small, nervous hands. Buddy rose with her, pressing reassuringly against her leg. Together they walked into the hushed courtroom, Tom following close behind. The room was smaller than Lily had imagined, but it felt enormous with so many eyes turning to watch her enter. She kept her gaze fixed on the witness stand, avoiding looking at the defense table where she knew Vanessa would be sitting. Buddy stayed close, his nails clicking softly on the polished floor. The judge, an older woman with kind eyes but a serious expression, leaned forward slightly. "Hello, Lily. Thank you for coming today. I understand you have a special friend with you?" "This is Buddy," Lily replied, her voice small but clear in the quiet room. "He saved my life," the judge nodded. "Yes, I've heard all about Buddy's bravery. He's welcome in my courtroom." She looked toward the jury box. "For the record, the court has granted special permission for the witness's support animal to be present during testimony." What followed was difficult but necessary. With gentle questioning from the prosecutor, Lily recounted the events leading up to that day in the forest, Vanessa's arrival in their lives, the changes in their home, the late-night phone calls and secret document searches. Then haltingly but with growing confidence, she described the hike, the isolated clearing, and the terrifying moment when Vanessa revealed her true intentions. Throughout her testimony, Lily kept one hand buried in Buddy's fur, drawing strength from his steady presence. The dog remained perfectly behaved, lying at her feet, occasionally looking up at her face as if to encourage her to continue. Only once did Lily falter, when asked to describe the feeling of being buried in the earth, unable to move. Her voice caught, tears welling in her eyes. Sensing her distress, Buddy immediately sat up, placing his head in her lap. The simple gesture gave her the courage to continue, describing how Buddy had freed himself and dug her out, saving her life when no one else even knew she was in danger. When the defense attorney rose for cross-examination, his approach was cautious, clearly aware of how the jury was watching him. He kept his questions brief and factual, avoiding anything that might appear as an attack on the child witness. Even so, Buddy watched the man with alert eyes, as if ready to intervene should Lily become upset. After what seemed like hours but was probably less than 45 minutes, Lily was excused from the witness stand. As she made her way back to her father, many in the courtroom struggled to hide their emotions. Even the court reporter was discreetly wiping away tears. The rest of the trial continued for 3 more days, but the outcome was never really in doubt. Vanessa's carefully constructed defense crumbled under the weight of the evidence against her. Her accomplice, a man she'd been secretly dating even before meeting Tom, had accepted a plea deal in exchange for testifying against her. Their text messages and emails detailed the entire plot, how they'd targeted Tom after learning about his financial situation, how Vanessa had manipulated her way into the family, and how they'd planned to access Linda's trust fund after eliminating Lily. When the jury returned with their verdict after just 4 hours of deliberation, no one was surprised to hear the word guilty repeated for each of the serious charges: attempted murder, kidnapping, child endangerment, conspiracy, and fraud. The sentencing would come later, but the prosecutor assured Tom and Lily that Vanessa would be in prison for decades. Her accomplice, though he hadn't been present for the actual attempt on Lily's life, had received 15 years for his role in the conspiracy. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered, hoping for a statement from the family whose story had captured national attention. Tom had consistently declined interviews, protecting Lily from further public exposure. But today, with the trial behind them and a long-awaited sense of closure at hand, he paused briefly before the cameras. "We're grateful for justice being served," he said simply, his arm around Lily's shoulders. "Now we can focus on healing and moving forward as a family." He glanced down at Buddy, who sat calmly amid the commotion. "All 3 of us." As they walked away from the courthouse for the final time, Lily looked up at her father. "Can we go to the shelter now?" she asked. "You promised we could after the trial was over." Tom smiled. "I did promise, didn't I? Yes, we can go right now." They drove across town to the Pine Grove Animal Shelter, where they were greeted like old friends. In the months since Buddy's heroic act had made the news, Tom and Lily had become regular visitors, bringing donations and spending time with the animals waiting for homes. Today's visit was different, though. Today they weren't just visiting. The shelter manager, a woman named Karen who had grown fond of the Thompson family, led them to a special room in the back. "She's right in here," Karen said, opening the door to reveal a small office where a golden retriever mix lay on a blanket, nursing 5 squirming puppies. "This is Daisy," Karen explained, though Lily already knew the dog's name from previous visits. She was found as a stray about a month before she gave birth. The puppies are now 8 weeks old and ready for adoption. Lily knelt beside the little family, Buddy sitting respectfully nearby, watching with curious eyes. "They're beautiful," she whispered. "Your dad tells me you've been thinking about adopting one," Karen said, smiling at how carefully Lily was petting the mother dog. Lily nodded. "Buddy needs a friend," she said simply. "And I think—" She hesitated, looking up at her father for reassurance. "I think Mom would want us to give another dog a good home, like she did with Buddy." Tom blinked rapidly, fighting back tears at this unexpected mention of Linda. "Your mom would love that idea," he agreed. "She always said every good dog deserves a loving family." They spent an hour with the puppies, watching their playful antics and letting each one interact with Buddy, who displayed remarkable patience with their clumsy attempts to engage him in play. In the end, Lily chose a female puppy with a white patch on her chest in the shape of a star. "I want to call her Hope," she said decisively. On the drive home, with Buddy in his usual place in the back seat and the puppy sleeping in a carrier beside him, Tom glanced at his daughter in the rearview mirror. The change in her over these past months had been remarkable. From the traumatized, nearly mute child who had emerged from the forest in Buddy's protective care, she had grown into a more confident, outspoken girl who was slowly reclaiming her childhood. She still had nightmares sometimes, still attended weekly sessions with Dr. Miller, the child psychologist who had helped her process her trauma, still occasionally fell quiet when something triggered a difficult memory. But those moments were becoming less frequent, less intense. "What are you thinking about, Dad?" Lily asked, catching his reflective gaze. Tom smiled. "Just how proud I am of you. How brave you've been through everything." Lily considered this for a moment. "I think being brave just means doing what you have to do even when you're scared," she said thoughtfully. "Like Buddy in the forest. He was probably scared too, but he still saved me." At the sound of his name, Buddy lifted his head, eyes moving between Lily and the sleeping puppy beside him. "That's right," Tom agreed. "And sometimes being brave means letting new people into your life even after someone has hurt you." This was a lesson Tom was learning himself. After Vanessa's betrayal, he had been hesitant to trust again, turning down dinner invitations and keeping to himself outside of work. It was Lily who had gently encouraged him to accept an invitation to coffee from Mrs. Wilson, the kind neighbor who had helped care for Lily during his business trips. Nothing romantic had developed, but the friendship had been an important step for both him and Lily, a reminder that most people were good, despite their experience with Vanessa. As they pulled into their driveway, the front door of the house opened, and Grandma June stepped out waving excitedly. She had moved in temporarily after the incident and had recently decided to sell her own home and stay permanently, an arrangement that brought comfort to all of them. "Let me see the new addition to our family," she called as they got out of the car. Lily carefully lifted the carrier, bringing it up to the porch where her grandmother waited. "Her name is Hope," she announced proudly. "Hope," Grandma June repeated, peering in at the sleepy puppy. "That's a perfect name." Behind them, Buddy climbed the porch steps and sat, watching over his family with alert eyes. He had become something of a local celebrity, the dog who had dug his young owner out of a grave and led her to safety when all seemed lost. Children asked to pet him when they saw him at the park. The local newspaper had run a feature calling him Pine Grove's hero dog. The police K-9 unit credited him with inspiring improvements to their training program. But to Buddy, none of that mattered. What mattered was right here on this porch, the family he loved and protected. Lily now bending down to let him sniff the puppy one more time. Tom, his hand resting gratefully on Buddy's head. Grandma June, who always saved a bit of bacon for him at breakfast. As the sun set over Pine Grove, casting long shadows across the lawn, the Thompson family went inside together. A father, a daughter, a grandmother, a hero dog, and now a puppy named Hope. Their story, which had begun in tragedy and nearly ended in horror, had transformed into something unexpected. A testament to loyalty, courage, and the healing power of love in its purest form.